go tomorrow.
That'd be a good idea. Dig around.
If you get no comments on your videos, it's just because nobody wants to be harassed in class. Right, sucking up.
It's recording right now, so you're on that.
Next YouTube
Their
video,
laws.
Are we gonna get royalties?
I suspect this isn't going to work out very well. I'm not posted. All right. So where we started was a case where everything was out of order. First thing we did was we got our emergency generator going, and it turns itself on, and then its breaker engages automatically at some point here. There we go. What that triggers for you guys is then you have power to your emergency systems. So the main ones that we're going to use at this point are going to be our Seawater auxiliary pump, start air compressor 2, and diesel generator lube oil priming pumps. So between those three things are what we're going to need to get our diesel generator up and running. Okay, so we'll transition over to our main seawater system. Our pathway starts at the sea chest, goes through a bank of pumps, through our air compression system, and eventually to overboard. On our air compressors, we have a cooler, which is going to allow our flow through our start air compressor 2, which we can run at this point. Our auxiliary pump is the one we can use. So turning that guy on, he is on and staying on, and ooh, do not want this to go up. All right. Air compressor now seems to have some flow, and we've got this guy that is hopefully going to cool itself. We can create our pathway, so from air compressor 2 up, and then we can pick either of these tanks to fill, and air compressor 2 should be able to operate. I'll create my pathway down, and I'll target diesel generator 1. I won't be able to start him until I have about 15 bar of pressure available. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go and start my preps for getting my diesel generator started. Wrecking my video. All right, so a few different systems. I have a lube oil system. Oh my god.
So you can compare my color scheme and don't show again.
Lube oil pump. I have two. One of them I can't operate at this point. And there was a difference in the symbols, right? You had this symbol and you had this symbol. This is an electric motor, which means it's allowed to operate from my emergency generator. This guy is a pulley, or we can consider that it runs off the rotation of the engine. So when it starts to rotate, these pumps come to life. I got my pump on, and I've got a pathway through here, and now I've got flow of lube oil. I'm also going to have some cooling water pathways. I've got this temperature controller. If you see what happens with the temperature controller, I have it manually set to 0, and the pathway for this cooling water goes through this cooler and then will make its way eventually to the engine. That one likely we would want to put into auto mode, okay, which is going to allow it to warm up instead of having all of the flow cooled. So I'll put them into auto mode. On my fuel side, I've got pathway for fuel. It doesn't start here. We always have to backtrack to the very starting point. So I start from the diesel oil service tank and make its way to the diesel generator. Bottom. All right. all the way through. So when I get to the point of having 15 bar, I believe I should be able to get this started. If I wanted to, I could repeat the process with my other diesel generator, but I'll just concentrate on the first one right now. My start air, if I leave this guy on, it will eventually get to 15, but it will keep going and overpressurize this tank. So what you can do to avoid that is use your automated controls at 102, and I could turn my start air compressor number 2 into auto. Oh, never mind.
It has to get to 15 before you can.
No, it is relying on me having electricity first, so that isn't off of the main or the emergency generator bank. So, sorry, we'll backtrack. There, oh, perfect, 15 bar. I was just stalling. All right, start my generator. See my speed coming up to about 1200 RPM. In theory, what I should be doing is letting this guy warm up. So having run for a little bit till it's up to operating temperature. Right now it's at 20 degrees and expecting to be about 65 degrees inside. But we are gonna kind of jump past that. So just be aware that we're probably not doing things as we should. Page 70 allows us to connect. If magnetization is not on, we need it on, so essentially turning this guy into a electromagnet that spins so we can create some electricity with it, and that would lead to us connecting in our breaker. Our emergency generator disconnects and eventually will turn itself off after not being needed for a little bit. On the electrical consumer side, diesel generator now supplies to all of my banks. Inside of these, I need to engage a breaker in order to allow any of these guys to function. I'll turn them all on, but really the ones that we're going to need would be our combustion air fan on the boiler, so the air blower on the boiler. Some of our air compressors are going to be our main components. So we can go back to our air compression page. We know that we're going to need our service air complete. So open up our cooling water.
You're still on auxiliary pump too.
And sorry?
You're still on your auxiliary pump for your cooling water too.
No, that's okay. That's all I need. Yeah. Our service air compressor can turn on. And now let's see. If we go to 102, I should be able to get these guys into auto, so prevent me from overfilling those tanks. I can confirm that I have some air pressure here, which means that I can operate my boiler control valve on the feed water side. So this valve would be able to open. Doesn't react very quickly, but at least it's moving at this point. I can turn on my pump, and my level should start to increase. While I'm waiting for all that to happen, I can verify that my vent is open. And let's go start the preparations for lighting the boiler. In order to light the boiler, I want to be pressure control and manual at 0 or minimum firing. I've got a pathway for diesel oil. Set my other valve so that it recirculates back to the diesel oil tank. I'll need to open up a pathway to the boiler. Turn on my fuel oil supply pump and verify I do have some flow. Check on my boiler level. Looks like I'm getting closer to my target, so backtrack. And we'll turn off my feed water pump. And I can close off my flow control valve. Usually don't want to leave my feed water pump running against a closed valve if I know it's going to be a 20-minute process or hour-long process to warm up, so I'll come back and deal with that later on. I think I'm okay to light my boiler. I even have my burner operation light in ready. Sometimes if you have a trip showing, you may need to reset. But getting this guy into auto, he's going to automatically turn himself on and off as needed, depending on the boiler pressure. Purge is happening. Oil's being added in, igniter. And we got flame. That 10 minutes is what you guys have been working towards for the past month and a bit. Okay, that's what I expect you to be able to do. Okay, so get to the point where the boiler is firing, not necessarily up to pressure or pressurized, just you have your flame on, it is stable, minimum firing. You have your water level within a reasonable range, so it's close enough to zero and under control, either automatic with a pump on or manual with it off. I want to see that you have your diesel generator up and running. Common things that we would have issues with. You have double filters. Usually that's because we have one in operation and one as a backup. This pump, once it's running, we can have it in auto mode and it can turn itself off. I'm not overfilling my sump. I'm not draining it. If I need to up my level, I can do so from storage and then remembering to turn it off once my level is up. On the air compression side, any air compressors that you're operating, I want to have cooling water too. Pathways through. This makeup valve, we can open it up only after we've brought everything up to pressure, so we can keep that guy closed. Drains should only be used sort of sparingly. So for instance here I've got a bit of water. I open it up for a few seconds to drain out any water and then that would be closed. So I'm not using drains. So basically a normal operation, all would be closed. On the cooling water side, again you've got a pathway. Auxiliary pump is all I need at this point for my air compressors and flowing through to overboard. Okay, that's your first test in this. All right, if you guys have been working hard and kind of learning everything, I think this should be pretty accessible to you guys. Okay,
That's all we have to do for the first step.
that is all you have to be able to show me. Yes.